shit, well, y'all say we have a little fun at Blackstone Cherry with, baby.
We started the band in 2001 on my 16th birthday. And I'll be 37 this year. So our band is officially old enough to drink. You know, when you get into something for this long, it just becomes a part of who you are as much of you being a part of what it is. You know, it's kind of one cohesive unit back and forth between the family and the band, and it's kind of all melded into one at this point. You know, it's I don't know anything else, and 20 years in, I can't imagine doing anything else.
I know probably a lot of y'all out here at the shed wondering how wild and crazy we're getting tonight up here on the bus.
You know, well, everybody has their
pre-show wild rock and roll rituals.
Yeah.
But here's ours. We're sitting here watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and doing little Hatayama finger puzzles.
Hatayama, hook us up.
I mean, we have fun, you know, if it's playing live, being together, hanging out, writing songs, doing crazy, towel popping each other till 3 a.m. in the morning on a bus. Like the excitement has never left our band.
We've always just said when. We've never been a if. We've never said if we get a chance to do this or if we do this. It's always been a win.
There's no ceiling with our band, you know, so there's still so many things that we want to achieve, and that's what we're doing. We're just climbing that ladder.
This is Geekcast Radio. It is episode 314. And what do they say about 314, folks? Isn't that something about pie? I've never liked cherry pie, but what we have now is something we teased back in episode 306. We have my thoughts on the Blackstone Cherry No Ceiling concert event live stream that they did in December of 2022. And as you heard in episode 306, my guest, Terry Smith from Music Talks Podcast, I basically forced him to pop his cherry.
I'm glad you recognized that, Mike. Yeah. Very pleasant it was, too.
Now, I do have to say, from our episode 306 discussion with Royal Albert Hall and going into the No Ceiling streaming performance, I like the overall performance of Royal Albert Hall better as far as like the way the set list was done. But what I like about No Ceiling is all of the behind the scenes stuff, all of the little things that Chris Robertson says. They have Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm interviewing them, and they do several acoustic tracks on that and everything else. And I think what pretty much broke me was because I'm only now just listening to Hailstorm. I've known of them, but I haven't actually, listened to them much. But with her interviewing them, I'm like, oh, I should check them out. But so she joined them on Peace is Free, which, as we all know, is their, at least what I term it, their 70s song from our Music Talks Artist by Decade that I did with you. And yeah, it was a fun little concert. I got a poster. I mean, I had to buy the poster, but like I got an event poster out of it. So, I really enjoyed it overall. I just wish the set list organization was not necessarily the same as Royal Albert Hall, but just, I don't know. And the one thing that I do love out of these performances, and you'll tell me how he did it in Glasgow, but when Chris Robertson starts, going after the crowd and saying, all right, I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and he goes into his well. I loved, the first time I heard it was on Royal Albert Hall, because he didn't do that when I saw him in 2018.
Right.
So they didn't do that back then. So when I saw it on Royal Albert Hall, I absolutely loved it in that version. And then in this version, I loved it just a little bit more because he added other things to it close to the end. I'm sure the clip will be in here somewhere.
Let's have a little fun here, man. I'm going to sing some random bullshit, and then I want y'all to sing it back to me, all right? I just want to see how it goes. Well. I just want to state for the record, I thought we had all become friends and friendly here this evening. I ask you, one simple favor. What? Try it again. Guitar's off. Shit's about to get down. Well. Well. Well, yeah. Now see, that sounds a little more like it. Let's do it again. Well. Look at here.
But yeah, No Ceiling, celebrating 20 years of Blackstone Cherry. It was a really, really good put together streaming thing. And I enjoy every time I see these guys, every time I hear them, I enjoy it because literally they are my number one band at this point.
And what was your view of the acoustic stuff, Mike?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was really good. They can't, like, you know how some bands might have an off night or whatever. These guys, they just seem to conquer everything to put the show on. And the acoustics were great because I had never heard. So the two that are on the thing, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, they did Like I Roll.
Maybe we should hear some of that beautiful, beautiful music.
Sure.
You guys feel like playing a song?
Yeah, we'll do.
Let's do it. Speaking of Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. We'll do a song. Speaking of the 20 years and everything, this song, we know it's not a current song or a newer song, but it's just a song that, it's about where we're from and who we are. And we did this song on the Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea record. The song's called Like I Roll. Ready to go for it?
Yes, I have my brooms.
Oh, my guitar's not turned on. Hang on, I gotta make sure. I'm glad you guys can edit this shit.
No.
There we go.
No,
Sorry. First day with this guitar. I'm not first day on the job, though. You ready?
Yeah.
I got my daddy's car and his old guitar. A suitcase full of broken hearts. Got my mama's smile and a baby blue eye. I ain't got much, but what I got's mine. And I roll like I roll. Yeah, I roll like I roll. I got an open road and a restless soul. The Rolling Stones on the radio. I roll like I roll, yeah, I roll like I roll. I roll like the hills under the California sun. Burn through the desert like a devil on a run. I'll be flying high till the day that I die. No matter what they say, at the end of the day, I will roll like I roll. Well, there's a lot of people gonna try to bring you down. They got a lot of rules, they gonna try to put you out. I keep looking up in this world full of doubt. I roll like I roll. I roll like the hills under the California sun. Burn through the desert like a devil on a run. I'll be flying high till the day that I die. No matter what they say, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna let it slip away. 'Cause I'd rather burn it out than to let it fade. I got an open road and a restless soul. The headhunters on the radio. I roll like I roll. I roll through the hills of my old Kentucky home. Back to the place where my heart belongs. I'll be flying high till the day that I die. No matter what they say, at the end of the day, I did it my way. Yeah.
and they did, like I said, Peace is Free.
Yep.
And the whole thing about Peace is Free with them doing it with her, as I said, she's interviewing them, and they get into their history of them knowing her and her knowing them, and them being on tour in 2016 and tour pranks. And at one point, she pranked them or they pranked her or something or other, and she started calling the song Pizza is Free.
Well, why don't we experience some of that magic? You guys want to play another song?
Sure.
It would be our honor.
All right, man. Well, then, yeah, let's try to relive some of that magic back in our touring days. You know,
Pizza free.
back when we were old road dogs.
Yeah, back in
when we were young
2016.
and eating pizza on stage.
Facts. It was a good time.
All right.
You good?
Yeah.
Ooh.
All righty. Ben, go ahead, buddy.
Here we go.
Everybody feels blue sometimes. You gotta keep your head up and keep on trying. And if you feel the urge to raise your hand, you can start a revolution or start a band. You better sing a song and sing it loud, but you better do it here, and you better do it now. 'Cause this is one short life that we live. Listen, people, this is what my song says. Don't you bring your sadness down on me when peace is free. There's a sun up ahead, brother, waiting on me. Can't you see?
I know times can get a little tough. You gotta lean on me, brother. You can't give up. Forget about your problems. Forget about your pain. Raise your glasses. Forget about our hate. Don't you bring your sadness down on me when peace is free. There's a sun up ahead, brother, waiting on me. Can't you see? I know, it sounds so bad, but if you want it, take a stand, yeah. Don't you bring your sadness down on me when peace is free. There's a sun up ahead, brother, waiting on me. Can't you see? And the whole world love one another. Throw down the weapons, fix all the hunger. Don't you bring your sadness down on me. And peace is free. When peace is free. been a lot.
Hired.
She got the gig.
I had to keep myself from saying
In the
pizza.
band.
I had
That's
to
all
keep
good.
myself. I
I just
held
had to-
I
back.
had cold chills in the back of my neck.
I did too, man.
It's the words everybody wants
I
to hear.
love
You're
it.
in the band.
You're in the what? Honorary little sister.
Oh, thank you. It's
Oh,
so awesome.
man.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Lizzie.
So,
Love it.
yeah. So you went to Glasgow to the what is it? It's not the OVO. It's
Ovo Hydro, snappily named. It's an energy company, which is not exactly a popular thing to be at the moment in the UK.
yeah, that's very true. For a second there, I thought you were going to say it's an energy drink company, since it says
No.
Yeah. Oh boy. So, what was your experience, sir?
It was genuinely interesting, and before I dive into that, I'd just like to say two things. One is thank you, and I guess thank you to this mad podcast thing that we both do and many others do, because, the reality is I am pretty certain I would never have even heard of Blackstone Cherry, let alone go to see them live without getting to know you. And, I'm grateful for that, and I have mixed views, and I will share them, and you know that. You know what I'm like. But I want to do that in the context. I had a great night out. And what you have to remember is, and I do think this had an impact. I mean, I said about, being an energy company isn't a great thing at the moment. Things are pretty tight over here, money-wise. And I know, you have your own challenges. We all have our own challenges, but so doing a big gig, and the Hydro is 13,000 arena. I think it was the number 1 or 2 biggest arena last year in the UK. So doing a big arena gig on a Monday night in January is always going to be a challenge, because people have had Christmas and they're short of money and the weather's shit. And the other thing, and I didn't realize, and I don't know if you did, but it was actually billed as a co-headline tour. It's they've gone out with what is described as their Friends the Darkness, and I will put my Blackstone Cherry manager's hat on. I'm not sure touring with the Darkness was a smart thing to do. And let me tell you why. First of all, I don't think you're aware, and it doesn't surprise me, I don't think you're aware of the Darkness, are you?
When they first announced that was going to be the co-headline, I was like, oh, okay, all right. Well, as long as, I still have my Cherry show, that's really, and it's no disrespect to the band members of the Darkness at all. It's just that most people, I know I can't be the only one that's like this, but most people, if they don't know something and they haven't had time or haven't had a chance to check it out beforehand, they're probably not going to be that interested in it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mike. This wasn't a support act. This was a headline.
I know.
So they did have a support act, which I didn't get to see. I was too busy eating, frankly. And the thing is, in the UK, so the Darkness, their first album was Permission to Land in 2003. It went 5 times platinum.
Wow.
So, and their second album was platinum, and the second album wasn't very good. They had one of the biggest Christmas singles ever. So, in the UK, the Darkness for about 18 months were absolutely massive. And they also have this interesting character, Justin Hawkins, who is the lead singer. They then sort of fell apart in 2006 because he got badly into booze and drugs, so very rock and roll. He has, and I'm making the number up here, he has something like a 7-octave range.
Oh, wow.
Right? So he has the most amazing voice. And if you imagine Queen, Freddie, even Justin wouldn't claim to be Freddie Mercury, but he's got that element of theatre, and he's also got this peculiarly British thing that they never, even when they were massive, they never took themselves very seriously.
Right.
And in fact, when they first came out, people were like, is this a joke band? But they put on a brilliant, brilliant show. They also make the most use of pyrotechnics I've ever seen in a show. And in fact, on the Liverpool gig, they set fire to the venue. So they had to evacuate the venue because pyrotechnics had caught the curtains at the back of the stage and there was a fire. So the reason for telling you all that is that actually I would say probably 40% of the audience were there to see The Darkness.
Yeah.
And because they're and again, to give you an example, one of the many things that Justin Hawkins, and we'll talk about Blackstone Cherry getting the band to sing along. Do you know how Justin likes to get the audience to clap along?
No.
He does a handstand and then claps with his legs.
Oh my God.
He plays his guitar behind his head, a la Hendrix. The one thing he did that I actually thought was inspired was he went off stage and and there was a big, I think I sent you pictures, there's a big standing area. So he basically went off stage singing and playing through the crowd on the shoulders of a roadie.
Wow.
Which is actually really clever because he's got this massive roadie, so nobody's actually he's not going to have any hassle, but he literally played the whole song walking around the arena. So the reason for telling you all that is, and also I think the fact that it was a co-headline, but The Darkness were first on, and though they were first on every night of the tour, I think they just had that element of, we've got a point to prove here. So they really got the crowd going and they sort of did it in a party style. So I think when Blackstone Cherry came on, the reason I say I don't think the audience were necessarily in the right place for a Blackstone Cherry set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you've said that twice now, because you said that about Royal Albert Hall too, when Chris was trying to get them up and going.
Well, you see, then there is and let me do the positives.
Sure.
I mean, they are rock solid. They're really energetic. The show is very, very smooth and slick. There was a nice, I don't know the name of the guitarist, but there was a nice touch where he pointed up to, people up in the gods, in the bleachers, as you guy calls them, and said, one of the things I like to do is I like to go around the arena in the afternoon and see what people will see at the stage. So if you look up there, if you look under your seats, there's a load of guitar picks, and you can see people going underneath and finding them. And that, So
let me ask you this, just to make sure we have this correct. Blonde or brunette, the guitarist?
The blonde guy on the left.
That's Bouncing Ben Wells.
Yeah, the one who's really energetic.
Yes.
So, all of that was good. I do have an issue. And actually, I got talking to a fan who agreed with me. I do have an issue with Chris and his getting the audience to sing, because he didn't do the wells. Actually, at the end of one song, he then played the chorus just himself on guitar and asked people to sing, and it was brilliant. But my view is, do that in the middle of the song. So he has this habit of going, sing along with us, and then he carries on singing and the band keep on playing. Now, maybe he could do worse than watch a Springsteen DVD or two. Maybe I have a Springsteen view, but when you ask the audience to sing along, stop playing, let them sing, because they have got great choruses, they've got great hooks, and people want to sing.
Yep.
Now, the other thing I do think is, because it was a mixed audience, and I would guess it was about half sold out. Okay. I think also there may have been a nervousness of, this isn't quite right. But talking to other fans afterwards, and when I say that was 4 people, the view was not that it was a bad show, but that it wasn't one of their greatest nights.
Okay.
And I mean, it's interesting you saying about the set, because this is me being retentive because I like to do this. What I will say is the new single was brilliant.
Yeah. Out of Pocket's amazing.
Absolutely.
System seemed to be overloaded. been loading. I need a minute to breathe and nothing else, and let go of this pain I keep holding. Sometimes I just want to run. Just need a chance to let go of the past, stop to live here in this moment. But it's easier said than done. I'm tired of feeling out of pocket, like I've become a fucking problem. I gotta find a way to stop it.
And I just hope that that is a indicator of the new album, because here's the interesting thing. And again, the set was obviously cut down a bit because they're co-headlining, but other than the single, everything else they played on Monday night was on the Albert Hall DVD.
Right.
You go back to Barrowlands in 2019, and by the way, Barrowlands I think would be a much better venue for them. It's one of the, I've told you before, it's one of the best live venues in the UK. It's a 30s dance hall with a suspended dance floor. And it's dirty and it's grungy and it's brilliant. But if you look at the Barrowlands set, then in 2019, all but 2 songs they played on Monday night were played. And if you then go back, and apparently the Hydro in Glasgow was the first arena they ever played.
Uh-huh.
If you go back to that set, 1, 2, all but 3 songs they played on Monday night were played. So it feels to me like they need some new material. Because, over half the set was from Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea and Folklore and Superstition, and there was a track off the first album. So it was, and it didn't sound tired. That would be unfair.
Yeah.
But they played those songs, and the new single just stood out as wow.
Yeah.
Real energy.
Again, we always talk, we're music heads, folks. We're going to talk about sequencing and tracking and everything else. I'm looking at this set list, and Me and Mary Jane is fine to start it. Burnin's great, again, which is from the most recent album that was released in 2020. Soul Creek, Blind Man, those are classics. But then you have the which I like this as a song sandwich. You have In My Blood, Out of Pocket, and then Like I Roll. So basically, In My Blood has been my kind of go-to because it has several lyrics in it that I absolutely love. Right. And that's just been my jam for the longest time. Out of Pocket, the new single, is just it. Like you said, it's killer. It's heavy. It's amazing. It's awesome. And then Like I Roll is still kind of heavy, but it's not as heavy. It's more like a lighter tone. It's more of whatever. And then you get into like Cheaper to Drink Alone and all that stuff. But like those 3 songs, I think that's perfect sequencing. But
I would add to that. I actually think, and obviously you're far more familiar than me, but you then go to Cheaper to Drink Alone, Things My Father Said was, I would say Cheaper to Drink Alone, Things My Father Said, and White Trash Millionaire was probably my favorite bit of the night because, Things My Father Said is always going to get people willing. So one of the reasons I asked about, the streaming was, what did you think of the acoustic stuff is, Chris has got a great voice.
Yeah.
So again, if I was their manager, because I'm pompous enough to play these games, I just think, putting a couple of acoustic versions in there or just a bit more light and shade, because they can do it.
Yeah.
And they've got the songs to do it. So now, at the end of the day, I also think back to the co-headline, in that sort of environment, you're going to do a greatest hits set, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think that's why the fans I talked to were not disappointed, but it was a bit like, well, yeah, we sort of, it was a good show, but we've seen all that before, other than the new single. So, but it was great fun. I'm really glad I went.
Now, you mentioned to me something about it getting cut short because of, what was it? Because of like curfews or something or other?
No, it was just the fact that they were down for, they were both down to do 75-minute sets, I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
So basically, you had and I've sent you through a review from the Birmingham gig.
Yeah.
But you had a support act that was on for half an hour. Then there was a change. Then there was the darkness for 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Then another change, and then so I guess that's what I'm saying. There was just something about it that didn't. You talk about sequencing. When a gig flows, it was almost like we've got 75 minutes and that's it.
Yeah.
I remember, of course, this week my great hero, Mr. Springsteen, at the age of 73, started his tour and managed to just come in with a 2-hour, 43-minute show to kick off the tour. And they're all pensioners, Mike. So these young guys should be doing 4 or 5 hours.
Yes, very, very true. And the funny thing is, and I'll link this this review from the Birmingham show from metalplanetmusic.com done by Darren. What I love about this review is, in the middle of the review, he's talking about how when they start the song again, which is from the most recent album, Hard as Nails, the crowd are on the court, and this is obviously in the Birmingham show, not in the show that you were at. The crowd are on the chorus, Wells and Jewel crossing the stage like dog-fighting pilots before ascending the drum riser to continue their I'm like, that's a shit. Like, maybe I should have sent you to Birmingham instead of.
Well, no, and in all seriousness, so I do think this is, part of maybe what was missing. If you look at the start that review, when they get into he describes the NEC, which is an arena. It used to be my local arena, so I know it really well. And he'll say when they get in, it's clear only half is being used tonight. The difference between the Hydro and the NEC is when they use half of it, they literally put a wall up in the middle, so the standing area becomes half the size it normally is. The seats become half. The Hydro, what they do is that they take out the top tier, so the standing area for the gig I went to was the same size it would normally be for a 13,000 seater show. Okay. So and that was probably less than 2/3 full. So I think that was there was a bit, it just had that slightly empty feel about it. Whereas I know the NEC, and frankly, it's a better venue as well. Don't let the Scots listening to that come and beat me up. The atmosphere with it half the size, I think would have been better. But that said, you look at the stage, the way they had the stage set up, and I can't remember if they did this at the Albert Hall, but they had the drums were really high. The drum solo was great, by the way. Stairs coming down from that, and then 2 ramps going up either side. They had platforms at the front of the stage. So all of that was done really, really well.
Yeah.
And
I saw the stage in one of the videos you sent me. I took a screenshot of the video and I saw the stage and it looked great.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that, and they worked it hard and they worked it well, and they clearly put a lot of effort into that. Yeah. And don't take my comments the wrong way. If anybody's listening to this who doesn't know Blackstone Cherry, and this will make you smile, because whilst I was prepping this afternoon, I put together a playlist before the show, and I was playing that again, and Laura came in and went, and you might be offended by this, but I think she said, "This sounds really quite Def Leppard to me. I should have come with you."
Okay.
So if anybody, if I'm glad I saw them, but I guess my summary would be, I'm glad I saw them. It was a good night. I suspect on another occasion, it could have been a great night.
Well, I'm almost speechless at this point, because now I just want to twist your arm to get your wife to do music talks at this point.
No, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
Come on,
that ain't gonna happen.
Come on.
Nope.
Oh man, no. Yeah, she should have gone. I was like, you were like, yeah, I've got my ticket, and I'm like, wait, isn't Laura going with you?
Well, just so as you know the level of commitment, Mike, Glasgow is a 2-hour drive away, and I had to stay overnight.
Yes, I remember you telling me that, but I didn't. I don't know. I've never been to Scotland. I don't.
Honestly, it was a joy. Here's the other thing for listeners, if I'm allowed. I got back to my hotel, and needless to say, I went for a drink. And when the bar closed, they played "Closing Time" by Semisonic. If people haven't been onto Song Exploder and listened to the episode where I can't remember his name now, something Wilson, isn't it? Dan Wilson is the lead singer. He does an episode on a podcast called Song Exploder where he breaks down Closing Time and how he wrote it and what was going on. If you think the song is about a bar closing, it is, but there's a second meaning as well. And I would encourage everyone to go and listen to it. And if you've not got a bit of moist eye by the end of it, there's something wrong with you. So go and take a listen to that.
Absolutely. So you had a fun time, and is it something that you think you would go see them again on a different bill? Like if it's them, obviously, but with other...
Yeah, I would. Well, here would be my ideal scenario. New album comes out.
Yep.
And it's all of a standard of Out of Pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then the set list has got, 6 or 7 tracks off the new album and a sprinkling of some of these classics and maybe an acoustic song or two. I would definitely go and see.
Yeah.
But I just think, the set list needs freshening up. I wouldn't go and see them again with that set list.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird, and I'm we're not bashing them or anything like that. It is what it is. That's the list they used, and it's just like I just feel like Royal Albert Hall was a better sequencing of the songs, maybe. I don't know.
Well, maybe they're keeping it fresh from themselves on resequencing.
Maybe, yeah.
But maybe play. I did decide just in defense of Blackstone Cherry to go and look at Springsteen's set list from Monday night and see how many of those songs he played when I first saw him in 1981. And the answer was 9. However, there were 19 other songs and about 7 on there that I've never heard him play because they're new. So that feels like a good balance.
Yeah, I mean, but again, when because I don't think there's been any Out of Pocket's the new single. I don't think there's been any actual album announcement yet. So
I saw a reference somewhere, maybe in that Birmingham review that I think it says a real positive indication for a new album, but they may just be assuming.
Yeah, I think they are coming out with. We Cherry Heads usually just call it BSC, and then whatever number BSC 8 would be the 8th album for them, and I assume it would be too. I know when Spotify. This is interesting. I think this is the first year that I've had Spotify that they actually did this. They had the artist you follow do like the end of the year Wrapped, but you would get messages from those artists.
Oh, really?
Yes. Thanking you for listening or thanking you for a great year or just sending some sort of message. And in that, they did say that new music was coming in 2023. They didn't define it. I don't think Blackstone Cherry is just going to release a new single without releasing a whole album.
No, absolutely. That would be a bit strange, wouldn't it?
Considering that, again, and no offense to them at all, which I absolutely love that they did this, but they essentially got 3 full years out of Human Condition because they had the first version of it, and then they had the deluxe version of it, which had the other alternate tracks on it.
Right.
So, hey, if you can get 3 years out of a full album and continue with the way that they tour and the way that they do their set list, that's great. That's amazing, but maybe it's time for the new stuff now. And like you said,
yeah, I mean, I was looking on, I've got it up here, Setlist FM. I mean, I think they're at something like 1,300 gigs, that's a heavy. Given, I mean, I know they've been going 15, 17 years, so 20, but 1,200 gigs in 20 years. That's serious. That's a serious work rate. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just out of curiosity, because I know you weren't exactly thrilled with this when we talked about the album, what did you think about "Don't Bring Me Down" as the encore?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
Oh no, that was and what was interesting, going back to the darkness, that sort of fitted perfectly.
Mm.
And it would have brought the house down in Birmingham because, of course, ELO were a Birmingham band.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it did bring the house down in Birmingham.
Of course, it was also nice to finish in a song that has a chorus that says Bruce.
Yep.
Even though that's not actually what he sang on the original.
Yep. Oh yeah. That's the yep. It's the only the only difference, and I thought this was cool. They used the new Sam Smith song "Unholy" as their pre-show thing.
Yeah, walk-on music.
Yeah, for the walk-on. Oh man, I wish they would have done that at Glasgow. That would have been awesome as hell. Oh, that's funny. All right. Yes, new album, Blackstone Cherry. Yes, please. Let's. Can't wait for that. What have you got going on, sir? You do some podcast where you talk about music, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I do this Music Talks podcast where people choose a song from each decade of their life and tell me why those songs are so important. And basically, in most episodes, tell their life story, which is always fascinating. So that's ongoing. Latest episode with my guest is a guy called Nuri Bernard Hassan, otherwise just known as Nuri to everyone, who I worked with years ago. But he has an alter ego, which is Sunjack Jr., because he's been a semi-pro blues musician for the past 15 plus years, and he's just retired, so he's going to now be a almost full-time blues musician. So that's the latest episode, and then new episodes come out the first Thursday of every month, and I've got guests lined up for the next 6 months, so that continues to be great fun. Also, if you look on the website, if you're interested in new music, then there is favorite albums of 2022, which I do with a good friend of mine called Stephen Routledge. So it's musictalkspod.com, or if you search on any of the podcast apps, Music Talks Terry Smith, and that will find it.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, I can't twist his arm to get his wife on his own podcast.
Because I'd like to stay married.
Oh, please. Come on. It's not that bad.
You haven't tried to have a conversation with my wife when she says no.
All right, fair enough. But considering we have the new Bruce tour this year, we really should do the 70 years of basically artists through the decade for Bruce to figure out which songs would fit into each decade.
I would need to think about that.
Well, I know.
Need to think about that.
You got 6 months of guests. You got plenty of time to think.
Yeah. Well, remember, Bruce wasn't in. Bruce is not one of my choices in my own.
I know.
I am actually going to redo episode 100. Is looming next year. I know it's nothing compared to your numbers, Mike. But I do, or Jesse's, who's at like 3,000 now, it's something stupid. I do have a plan for episode 100 when I will revisit Music Talks and my choices, and all I will say is that this time around it would be very different. So you'll have to wait for that until next year, I'm afraid.
Wait a minute, you're on episode 80. Well, yeah, if you're doing it monthly, yep. So Jesse Jackson, Set Lusting Bruce, he is coming up on his 1,000th episode.
Unbelievable.
I haven't had one I've recorded and released over 3,000 podcasts in 15 years.
Jeez.
But but I have never had a single show reach 1,000 episodes. So that is an absolute, milestone for him. For Geekcast Radio, I don't know what's coming up next. I'm not sure. I know I'm just going to be, sitting back and listening to Blackstone Cherry and checking out Music Talks podcast all the time. And people want to hear the origins of my Music Talks history. You can listen to episode 12 of Terry's show, and then go listen to all the other things I've perverted his format into.
It's brilliant, mate. It's always good fun, sir. And as you say, let's hope there's a new album from your favorite band this year. I know they say with interest. Yeah,
I know they say you shouldn't assume things because, you make an ass out of myself. But, I assume there's going to be a new album. So I don't know. So Geekcast Radio, folks, 2023, we've got some stuff coming up, I guess. I really haven't planned anything. It's funny. After 15 years, I'm kind of cutting back.
I believe that when I see it.
Well, I'm pacing out the shows. I'm like, oh, let's do a month of this or a month of that, or let's not do this show until blah, blah, blah. And I know the whole point of some podcasts and podcasting in general is for the audience to have consistent and constant content. Well, after 15 years and over 3,000 episodes, that candle is somebody blew it over in the wind or something. I don't know. So any other final thoughts you would like to say, sir, before I run through our closing?
No, other than, where I started, I guess, which is thank you. Because for all of my, music critic, and if I was the manager, I had a great night out. And it's a night I wouldn't have had if, as I say, we hadn't got to know each other. And, Jesse sends you something about a show and you listen and like it. And here we are X years later. So I think that is magic. And I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. Well, whenever the new album does come out, we're probably going to have to record it as soon as the album releases. And then I won't release it until December, because this is a rarity, folks. Terry and I recording and releasing something at the first of any year. We started recording together in December of 2019, and
wow.
Tried, pandemic not, withstanding and all that stuff. But almost every year, Terry and I are together at the end of the year, even though, it's different than what he usually does with Steven and everything else. Is there anything different? You guys streamlined the favorite albums episodes this year, right? Or was that?
No. Yeah. I mean, when we originally did it, we did best songs and best albums.
Right.
So we've dropped the songs, not because we would have loved to do it, but it was just too much content, really. And then the other thing we do now is that we play clips from each one. So it's split over two parts. The first one, Stephen goes from his number 10 to his number 5. I do the same. And then part 2 is 5 down to 1. The other thing that's just occurred to me, Mike, just finishing off on The Darkness, which again, I would encourage you to go onto YouTube and find a gig of theirs. I think you will love it. But this was thing, I love my research. Then when I think it was their second album or whatever, a single, but somebody basically pirated a copy of the album a month before it came out and put it on eBay. And Justin Hawkins, the singer, bless him, went on eBay under a false name and bid, I think, £3,500 to find out which bastard had stolen his album.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that brilliant?
That's amazing. Dang.
So yeah, thanks for a great night out. Thanks for reminding me that The Darkness were worth listening to and seeing. And I look forward to us catching up, because we will find a reason, Mike.
Hello, geeks and geekettes! Looking for a podcast that covers a vast array of topics? Then check out Altered Geek Unleashed, where we discuss our thoughts on this week's geeky news, tech, gaming, television shows, movies, cartoons, comics, and more. So, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks. Every Friday on the Geekcast Radio Network.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The Geekcast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure the Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news, play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series where we review noted directors' movies film by film. Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience the Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or GeekCastRadio.com.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Well, the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Mark Who 42's Universe podcast from the universe and beyond.
Hi, I'm Terry Smith, the host of Music Talks, the podcast where I ask guests a simple but beguiling question. Choose a song from each decade of your life and tell me why these songs mean so much to you. Guests and listeners love this format, and if you want to find out why, then take a listen at musictalkspod.buzzsprout.com or use your favourite podcast app. Just search on Music Talks Terry Smith. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and then send me a tweet at MusicTalksPod. I look forward to doing some music talking soon.
Do you know John Hyatt songs?
Maybe you know them from being covered by Roseanne Cash, Three Dog Night, the Neville Brothers, Emmylou Harris, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Jeff Healey, Bonnie Raitt, or literally hundreds of others.
Maybe you have some of his albums on your shelf, or in your cow-horned Cadillac right now.
I'm Jesse Jackson.
And I'm Sylvan Groff.
And we're going to dive in from A to Z. Join us on the Perfectly Good podcast.
We're going to discuss all of your favorites and uncover some forgotten gems, from Aces Up Your Sleeve to Zero House.
Rate and debate every John Hyatt song on the Perfectly Good podcast. Have a little faith. For over 6 years, my guests and I have been discussing the soundtracks to our lives. I'm Jesse Jackson, and I've had hundreds of fans from around the world share their stories about the power and magic of all kinds of music. If you enjoy stories about joy, redemption, trials, and ultimately triumph, then please check out Set Listing Bruce, a Bruce Springsteen fan podcast. Remember, there is magic in the night.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk...
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
When the world changed, it made me appreciate all of this on a whole different level. You know the old saying, you never know what you got till it's gone. It never rang more true than when every bit of this got taken away. A musician is a musician, but we're all performers.
Is out there, so I better not suck. Oh, God. I texted him. I said,
what are you talking about? We got one of the best guitar players alive fucking jamming with us.
Well, you know what's out there in that crowd?
That's really sweet of you to say that, too, and I really appreciate it.
He's one of the best rockers.
I always find something to make you think about.
You certainly do, sir, and I appreciate it.
So, all right. Well, thank you for listening to us here on Geekcast Radio. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays: Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, plus any other podcatching client you choose to use. But generally, I prefer Spotify because it has the best UI for what it is. You can find us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. I am at TFG and Mike. What is the podcast Twitter or your Twitter?
Well, for me, just at Music Talks Pod.
There you go. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also check out Music Talks Podcast over there as well. All links will be in the show notes on the website. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Geekcast Radio and wish you'll join us next time as we'll be talking about yet another geeky topic. For now, I am TFG and Mike with
Terry Smith from Music Talks.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.
I gotta know, did you have a good time at Blackstone, Jerry? Last song we got for you tonight's called Lonely Train. Y'all be safe on the way home, all right?